How's it going, everyone? It's Ben Foggins, Media Corner, back again with a brand new video for today, and welcome back to another movie review, aka After I Saw. This time it's going to be on Paw Patrol the Mighty movie. Now, this is a 2023 animated film, and this is the sequel to the first Paw Patrol movie that came out back in 2021. It is directed once again by Cal Brunker, who directed the first film. And in the sequel, we see the Paw Patrol pups gaining superpowers from crystals that they found inside a meteor. And together they have to stop Mayor Humdinger once again, but this time he has an accomplice named Victoria Vance, voiced by Taraji Henson, and they're planning to wreak havoc in Adventure City together. So that's pretty much the story of Paw Patrol the Mighty movie. Now, the first Paw Patrol movie that came out in 2021, I had very low expectations for that movie when I first saw the trailer, but I surprisingly found myself having an enjoyable time with that movie back then. So when I heard there was going to be a sequel to the first film, I did not know what to expect from it when I first heard about it, but I decided to give this one a shot since I did check out the first film already, and so I did check out this movie a few days after it was released in my area back in 2023, and unfortunately, I wouldn't say it is quite as good as the original Paw Patrol movie, but I wouldn't necessarily say this was a bad sequel. I thought the sequel was overall just fine for myself. In terms of the concept for the sequel, I actually quite like this concept for what it was going for, but in terms of the story execution here for the sequel, that to me just felt like one of the weakest aspects of this movie, because the story here for me just felt pretty weak. And there were often times that it felt less effective when it came to the heartfelt moments in the film, because in this sequel, it just felt less effective and less strong. Even though the first film did a really good job when it came to those moments in that film, which to me felt really strong, when we followed Chase dealing with his fears, while in this sequel we follow Skye dealing with her fears, and to me, as I mentioned before, it just felt less effective and less strong for me when it came to that aspect in the sequel. But as for the message of the film, it does sound pretty good on paper, but its execution here just felt pretty messy. And as for its humor in the film, there are a few humorous moments in the film for me that often did work for me, but there were a few that was just like, okay, that just wasn't really for me here. But as for the voice work in the film, yeah, I thought everyone for the most part did a solid job. And yeah, they are quite over the top of voicing these characters. Like, you've got Taraji Henson as one of the villains, Victoria Vance, which she is over the top, but I actually found her character to be quite enjoyable here as one of the villains here in the sequel. And you've got some other recognizable names in the film, such as Mckenna, James Marsden, Kristen Bell, Chris Rock, Serena Williams, and so on. Which, again, I thought everyone for the most part did a solid job. And as for its animation here, it is pretty good, once again, just like the first film, especially when it comes to the action sequences here, which I thought the action for the most part were actually quite engaging when we do see the Paw Patrol pups using their superpowers from these crystals that they do have to their collars in the film. And overall, in the end, guys, Paw Patrol the Mighty movie, I generally thought the sequel was overall just fine. Certainly nowhere near as good as the original, but it does have a few of its stuff I found myself enjoying just a little bit for most of the time. But in all honesty, I just much prefer the first film over this sequel here. So that's pretty much all to say about Paw Patrol the Mighty movie. I'm going to give Paw Patrol the Mighty movie 3 out of 5. Certainly not an awful sequel, even though it's one I just thought was just generally just fine. Even though I do much prefer the first film over this sequel overall here. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching for my AK After I Saw review on Paw Patrol the Mighty movie. Let me know what you think of the sequel, if you've already seen the sequel, or if you just recently checked this one out. And as always, this has been Foggins Media Corner signing off.